Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about all of the books that I read in November. November was very successful for me. I finished all of the books on my November TBR. I think I had 4 or 5. I'm not sure. It might have been 5 because I think I had a rollover and I selected some. We'll see. But I'll have to go back and check. But overall, I finished 9 books, including my audiobooks, and I record it all here in my books I read this year tracker. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first book I want to talk about is a physical book that I know was a rollover from October into November, and it was The Latecomer by Jean Hannah Korelitz. I no longer have the copy of that book. I returned it to its owner, so I'll see if I can put a picture up here of the cover. But I finally finished that book. It has been on my TBR for a while, probably since like February of this last year. Again, it was a book that was borrowed to me. So I wanted to finish that and return to the person since I knew I was seeing them on Thanksgiving. So that was the first book that I finished. Let's see, the next physical book that I read off my bookshelf is Would You Eat Your Cat? It's Key Ethical Conundrums and What They Tell You About Yourself. This was a really short book. It was under 200 pages, and it gave you like a scenario, and then you'd flip to the responses part and it give you kind of an explanation of some thought processes on that scenario. This was another book that was kind of like passed along to me, so I'm going to pass it back to its owner or it's going to get decluttered. This is something that I don't think I would ever read again, but it was interesting for the one time that I read it. I don't know how I would rate this. It might be like a 3. Or 2. Actually, I'm gonna rate it like a 2.5. Because I hate how in the front it has a question, but then you have to like flip all the way to the back. So I was flipping back and forth all the time, and it just didn't make it easy to read. And then The Latecomer was just not a book for me. It was literary fiction. It was a very slow book, and it just did not capture my attention in the way that I like to engage with books. So that one was probably like a 3 max. Okay, the next book, that physical book that I read that was on my TBR was Stoneheart. That has been on my physical TBR for a very long time, since probably like 2006, 2007 when I got this book. This book was not what I expected it to be. It does say that it is part of a trilogy. I don't think I will continue reading this trilogy. This is like a middle grade type book. So again, probably won't rate it higher than a 3 just because it just wasn't for me. Yeah, it wasn't quite what I expected, but there were some really interesting aspects. It's about statues in, I believe, London that kind of come to life. So not really what I was expecting, but it is what it is. The next book that I read was Murder on the Orient Express. This is a book that I've actually previously read, and I wanted to reread it. I picked this copy up for free from a giveaway table at my school. This is a book that I would like to own in the future. I just don't like this copy. So this one is going to be decluttered and put into a little free library around the area. I like Agatha Christie books. I'd rate them like a 3.5 for, they're engaging for me, and I like the twists and turns. Because I've read that one before, it's really hard to give like a rating for me. I don't really read books by ratings. Anyways, I read books by things that I find will interest me. And then the last physical book that I read and finished on November 30th, so got it in there just in time, was Chinese Folktales. This one was one I thought maybe it would take me a while. I read ancient Egyptian myths and legends this year, and that one took me a little bit to get through, but the way that this one was written was very story formatted, because it was taken from like oral storytelling tradition, and they were very short, so it was easy to pick up, put down, and I actually really enjoyed this, so this one will be staying with my collection. So those are the 5 physical books that I read this month. Now let's get into my audiobooks. I don't remember quite what order I did these in, so I will do the best that I remember. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, finished 4 audiobooks. The ones that I listened to this month were quite long. So the first one I know I finished in November was For the Wolf. This one was really interesting, and the type of book that I like is I do like a retelling of classic fairy tales with a twist, and so this one was a take on Red Riding Hood, and there were so many twists and turns that I did not know what was going to happen next, and there was characters that I loved and characters that I hated, and there was gray area, and I just found it really engaging. And then I noticed there was a sequel. My library did not have the audiobook of the sequel, and when I start a series or something in one specific format, I like to finish it out in that format. However, Spotify recently added audiobooks to their library, and you get 15 hours of audiobook listening time. The audiobook for the sequel, For the Throne, is about 14 and a half hours long. So I was able to get through that book in the month of November as well. So For the Wolf and For the Throne, which is the sequel. And I enjoyed both of them a lot. Those are probably 4.5 stars for both of them. Yeah, it was definitely a really engaging series, and I enjoyed it immensely, or duology. Then I listened to I Must Betray You, which was about Romania behind the Iron Curtain, and it was about a teenager living in this society where everyone was worried about being informed on. So how do you live a life where you are in constant fear of being overheard and being imprisoned because of something that you say or think? So it was very impactful. I found the storytelling interesting, and I would definitely recommend it. It is an insight into time and a place that I feel like a lot of people don't know about. And then the last audiobook, so I did 4 audiobooks and 5 physical books this month, was The Ex-Hex. I listened to that pretty early on in November. It was when I had put on hold and it became available, and it is about a woman who accidentally hexes her ex, and kind of the events that take place because of this accidental hex. But it was a fun, light book that kind of filtered in with some of the deeper topics, such as war and some dark concepts that came up in For the Wolf and For the Throne. So those are the 9 books that I finished in, I almost said September, November, and I already picked my TBR for December, so go ahead and watch that video. I'm really excited about reading this month. I know I'm going to have some more time, and I'm just in a reading mood. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.